Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Godcraft 24. We are at the beginning of December, St Andrew's Day actually, 2025. Just got something else to play you coming up, which is an example of attacks on Christians and attacks on Christians meetings and the church, something that was quite local to me. Hello ladies and gentlemen, just a quiet Wednesday evening in St Andrew's Church on Wednesday night. This is a spiritual attack on an innocent meeting. Obviously a non-Christian trying to get in, but we can't let him in. So that's that. Yeah, I was just a troublemaker, but I've never seen anything quite like that before. So, especially, he's basically trying to get in the church, trying to knock the door down, and there's a few of us holding the door at the other, while someone's calling the police. He wanted to fight all of us, pretty much. So that's that. Well, how is it relevant? Because attacks on Christians will multiply in the end days. So that's how it's relevant. I'm just going to read from the book of Isaiah. Isaiah 13 from chapter 9. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, cruel and both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. We're all sinners, by the way. I'm not, that's myself included, but that's for another thing. For the stars of heaven and the constellations, therefore, shall not give their light, and the sun shall be darkened, and the moon will not cause her light to shine. And I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity. I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and I will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. I will make man more precious than fine gold, even a man than a golden wedge. Therefore I will shake the heavens and the earth, and remove her out of her place. That's pretty much what we've been through for the last few years, and what we're going into, I would say. It doesn't need a lot of explanation. All the signs in the heavens of the earth, if you've watched the last few of these, they're all around us. And just to, I'm just going to go through a few things to try and exemplify what we're talking about. So we've got UK immigration at national emergency levels at the moment, obviously being talked about all through the summer. We had the flag marches, all of the flag stuff, and obviously the Palestinian marches and all that going on. That's no secret, that's everywhere in the news. I'm not going to get tied up on dates and when they happened in this particular episode, but it's the direction of travel. London knife crime, hugely up as a statistic. Especially among children, apparently. The Home Office, not fit for purpose, reference controlling immigration. This is all kind of, the Bible says the world is turned upside down. Well, we're in that process, I believe, at the moment, of us being turned. That means the systems that we're used to and how they operate are being forced into turning upside down, pretty much. Freedom of speech is under attack, so that's hugely under attack, that is. So we all know about how the police are now focusing on what you say on the internet, and shoplifters are going scot-free. That's happened. Well, that's not news even, that's a few months old now. That was all in the news in the summer. One thing I found was quite funny, that we had something called a full sturgeon moon, which was a blood moon, by the way, and that was when Nicola Sturgeon was trying to get her memoirs published. She was all over the news for that period of time when we had a full sturgeon moon. So that's just something that's funny, not necessarily mean anything. Yeah, huge protests in London. This is all to do with the pressure going up on our freedoms of speech, and what annoys the English people or the British people. The pressures on it all are growing all the time. So you could say and people are in fear. That's essentially what it is. People are held in fear. It says not to fear, but it's an easy thing to fall into, especially around the asylum protests. That everyone knows about that. Around the Bell Hotel incident in summer. Uh, 4.5 million more children living in poverty, apparently. Scotland experienced a huge power cut around a blood moon. I haven't got the dates in this particular one, but it was around significant events in the skies. 10,000 or tens of thousands of people in Scotland had the power cut off. That all happened around the blood moon. A&E. This is about fear again. When the people are in fear, they attack. So you got attacks on A&E staff hugely up, on hospital staff pretty much, and especially around racism. So I suppose if you've got a lot of immigrants coming in working in the NHS, they're the ones that are getting the brunt of the attacks, and racist abuse. That's what they're. So that again is a rise in fear. People attack what they fear, pretty much. Hate crime, yeah. Non-crime hate incidents. That's a thing apparently. So that's still a rise in, it's a rise in hate. We've got under a meteor shower. I ain't got the date on this one, but 3 children were charged with murder. 3 children murdering a man in Kent. That's kind of a new level of that. No, I've not really seen anything like that before. We had Europe, a lot of wildfires again under a week's meteor shower. Europe burns. The headline was Europe burns under a nightmare of wildfires. National Guard. I think this was this was August this year. Trump had sent this was the first, and this was under a meteor shower time period. Trump sent the National Guard into major US cities. Never been done before. So that's kind of a slow creep attack on freedoms, if people are getting used to that. I know his reasons for doing it, but we'll see. Back in the UK, they're pushing out more and more under the guise of the race riots. They're pushing out more and more facial technology stuff. So start googling Human Rights Watch and stuff like that, because they'll be upset about that. Facial recognition. If we allow it to get everywhere, they will have us under a totalitarian nightmare, and it'll be. If you read George Orwell's 1984, it'll be a lot worse than that, by the sounds of it. Halloween. I want to speak about Halloween. That's like, it used to be a one-day thing. No one paid much attention. Now it's like creeping. It's like a couple of weeks lead up to it now. Just to be clear, Halloween is anti-Christian and is celebrating darkness. It's not just a thing for the kids or a bit of fun. It is celebrating darkness or evil, essentially. And then there was the day after, All Saints Day, the terrorist bus stabbing. Was that in the UK? In this country? Yeah, everyone in the UK, you'll remember that. That was on All Saints, one of the Saints' days. Well, the reason I go on about these dates is because it's not a coincidence. That's when these terrible things are happening. That's my take on it. They're trying to push digital currency more and more. Why is that bad? If you don't know, if you haven't worked it out, why we must keep cash, it's because when you're just a digital entity and they don't like you, they can turn you off. That's it. You can't exist in this world without being, unless you have cash, of course. That's why it's important we keep cash. Again, it's a darkness agenda. If it's against our freedoms that have been hard fought for through wars, if it means anything, why we beat Hitler, to have these freedoms, they're being eroded. That's what I'm saying. Digital currency, if we get that forced upon us, that will be one way where our freedoms start to disappear. Newspapers. I haven't got many this time. You'll all know about, this is, I think this is I think it's a Christian newspaper that they publish. It's a monthly newspaper called Heart. But basically I want to focus on attacks on, just the attack, particularly on Charlie Kirk. Everyone knows about the murder of Charlie Kirk, a very powerful and influential voice and a Christian evangelist. Now, what I want to focus on is, they went on about it on the news, and they said he was a political activist, but they didn't say, what they left out in the mainstream news was that he was about his Christian message, and he would talk about Jesus. So that in itself is a kind of anti-Christian rhetoric. And there's some good news here. Italian police thwarted a terror attack where 2 Turkish men armed with machine guns were planning to open fire on a crowd of 40,000 Christians. The Christians had gathered in central town of Viterbo to celebrate the feast day of Santa Rosa on the 3rd of September. The festival was also attended by the Italian foreign minister. There you go. So there's some good news there. But that still highlights the attacking Christians and the fact that it's up, and it says it will be up in the end times. It says we will be persecuted, and that's what's happening. Islamist persecution on the rise. Radical Islamist organisation Jamnat, something I can't pronounce, has begun to impose the Muslim something tax on non-Muslims in Bangladesh. Okay, that's not so relevant. Well, that's from that. This is something that's happened recently. Again, I go on about blood, smoke and fire. We had the towers that caught fire. There's probably going to be a couple hundred by the time the smoke's cleared. Probably about 200 or 300 people dead from this. But at the moment, November the 28th, yeah, very recent. The towers that burnt in Hong Kong, they reckon the death toll could reach 350. Hundreds of firefighters. Yeah, so blood, smoke and tears, I was going to say. Yeah, that's a terrible thing. Well, that's an end time prophecy as well. Blood, smoke and fire, sorry. Yeah, well turn ups. I will mention though, a friend of mine has just, this is unplanned, but it's just popped into my head. A friend of mine is convinced within 10 years there'll be beheadings in the UK, and that will be commonplace, is what he said. I'd like to think that's not true, but there you go. Big flood in Pakistan a couple of months ago. Not sure if that was under any particular, I haven't got the dates for these, but I'm just going to run through some of the terrible things and how they're on the up that happened this year. I'm covering the period from August to December pretty much. This will be the last one for 2025. Big flood in Pakistan, for thousands of villages displaced and thousands of villages underwater. We had huge fires in the North Yorkshire moors this year in the summer. Another attack on Christians. A US Marine went on a killing spree in a Mormon church. And that, well, I take it that's in the USA. And he burnt it down afterwards, apparently. The woke agenda. Yeah, woke agenda is part of this. It's an attack on. It's basically an attack on free speech. So again, they're trying to police what you say rather than what you do now. It's an attack on freedom. So that's a rise in darkness again. So it's about you carry on going down this direction. What kind of world are we going to be living in? Racist attacks on NHS, I mentioned that. Stabbings on Yom Kippur, one of the Jewish holy days. Stabbing outside a synagogue. This is a new one to me. Women's rage is on the up, and they're having rage retreats. I watched a documentary on it. I've not even heard of men having a rage retreat. But a lot of men do get rage. But yeah, women's rage is on the up, especially among feminists and business women, apparently. The article, that's not me, that was on the national news a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, you get 30 people a day arrested for what they said on the internet. Gen Z are having to be taught how to communicate rather than look at the computer or a smartphone. Again, that's a degradation of intelligence. So that is also a rise in darkness. Basically, yeah, you can imagine it. They're not communicating with speech and rely on typing on the computer. And lastly, which I've only just seen on the news, it is St Andrew's Day today, by the way. They've just been on the news. There's been a mass shooting at a kid's birthday party, which is something else I've never heard of before, or anything quite like it. So again, more of that. Sorry to make it feel rushed tonight, but wish you all a Merry Christmas. Speak to you in the new year.